my channel. This is Chella Chats. I'm Chella. I'll be doing the chatting. If you're new to my channel, we talk about all things mythical, mystical, magical, some creepy, some cryptids, and maybe even some conspiracies. It's part 2 of last week's video. So, with that out of the way and cleared, we are sticking with last week's category of superstition, back on the evil eye, and this week we are doing prevention, protection, and cures. So let's get right into it. Now, the very first country I want to talk about is Turkey. So in Turkey, there is a common practice to bring evil eye tokens, Nazar tokens, to newborns, and they have created a specific Nazar bonçuk, which is a specific charm to combat the evil eye. Now, it is important to note that these charms are not for luck. They are solely for the purpose of protection for newborns and babies. So if you see one in a shop, like you're visiting Turkey, or you come across a Turkish shop and you see one and you like it, just know that if you get it as a lucky charm, that's not what it's intended for. The intention is slowly to give to a newborn to protect them. As I said in the first video in talking about curses, many of these places and cultures believe that newborns, babies, young children are very much susceptible to the curse. The Nazar is also placed in foundations of buildings, and also put on cars. So like you can have mosaics in buildings, or you can have like a specific brick that you carve out or paint the charm on. And if the charm comes up cracked, then that is a sign that it has done its job and has protected your home, your business, what have you, from the curse. But then, of course, he'll need to replace it to continue to ward off the evil eye. Motifs can also be sewn into kilims, which are Turkish tribal rugs. You have the hatch, which is a cross, and that is to divide the evil eye into 4 segments, which weakens it. You have the changle, which is a hook, and it is a symbol to destroy it. And then you have the gos, which is the human eye, and that is to avert the gaze. So once again, referring back to the first video, there's the idea that fake eyes will avert and distract the gaze from the potential victim. Now, some of the things, or some of these rugs can also have what is called a muska sewn into them, and they are packages containing sacred verses. As some of you may or may not know, the predominant religion in Turkey is Islam, so it could be sacred verses from the Quran placed into these little packages and then sewn into the rugs. In Assyria, or in Assyrian culture, you sign the cross while pointing with your index and middle finger, either at a cursed person or someone who you believe is trying to cast the curse on you. And that is, I guess, kind of like a and protected. As well, and this is in both Jewish and Islamic faiths, we have the Hamsahan, which I do want to do a video on the Hamsahan in and of itself. So basically it is the hand of God. Hamsa refers to the 5 fingers, and there is the eye in the palm of the hand. In Islamic faith, it is the hand of Fatima, and in the Jewish faith, it is the hand of Miriam. And once again, eye is to avert the gaze. Now, in Ethiopia, they will carry what is called a kitab, and that is a talisman, a necklace that is made of leather and sand beads. Kitab is made by a debitera, or an unordained priest, or an educated layperson. So I guess a regular person who is practiced in or who is educated in these sorts of things, as well as maybe a priest in training, and maybe that's what they mean by an unordained priest. As well, you can deflect or even cure yourself by invoking God's name. So like we saw in medieval times, they use the phrase God by God's will, or God bless it. That sort of thing would be invoking God's name. In Senegal, we have Tiat, which is their version of the evil eye, and it is warded off by cowrie shell bracelets. Now, I don't know if my audience is around the same age as me and you remember back in the early 2000s, or if you are a much younger person watching this video and you were like born in the early 2000s. Back then, we had the puka shells and cowrie shell craze, which everyone wanted that surfer, beach goer look, so they went out and bought cowrie shells and puka shells. Well, it turns out cowrie shells are actually a type of amulet for the Senegalese people, and it is believed that the shells will absorb the negative energy, and they turn dark, and then they break, or they darken until they break, and that just the darker they get, the more negative energy that they have absorbed, and once they break, then, maybe it's one of those, kind of like a hematite ring. It has reached its limit for the amount of negativity it can withhold, and so then it's time to get a new one. The Senegalese also have what is called a gris-gris, a fun word to say, and it is also something that is worn. It is a small bag that is inscribed with verses, and it holds a ritual number of small objects which are given to the wearer by an ancestor, maybe like a grandparent, a great-grandparent, and by ritual number, kind of like an auspicious number to your family. So like in my family, numbers like 5 and 3 are auspicious because there's 5 people in my immediate family. There are 3 children in my family, me, my brother, my sister. So like I would have either 5 or 3 in my bag. So that sort of thing. And grigris are made by marabouts, which are North African holy men. I don't know if that is a 100% specification, like it has to be from North African holy men, or just that's kind of, in general where those bags come from. Now moving on to India, certain foods and meals can be used as a preventative. So if you see like garlands of lemon and green chilies, it is used to avert the evil eye, as well as like ropes of neem leaves, ash gourds. These are the types of things that are used to appease the goddess Lakshmi, who is, I think I saw, is the sister of Lakshmi, and she is the harbinger of misfortune and grief. So basically, she can bring the evil eye. So she likes sour, bitter type foods, whereas her sister likes sweeter type foods. So you leave sour, spicy, bitter on the front porch, or like maybe in your foyer, to appease the goddess Lakshmi, and she will kind of take it and be satisfied and leave you and your family alone without giving you misfortunes and grief. As well, people can take fists of rock salt, peppercorns, mustard, red chilies. They can take white pumpkins, oiled cloths, or lemons coated in kumkura, which is a red powder, and you take those things and you circle a person that is believed to be cursed, and then you throw it in the fire, or you can discard it in a safe, secluded place, somewhere that people won't be able to get to it, people or animals, so they can't eat it. They have a Nazar Batu, which can be it's a phrase used to refer to a charm bracelet or a tattoo that is used to ward off the evil eye. So essentially, I have both types of Nazar Batu. I have my little evil eye bracelet, as well as I have a tattoo of the Eye of Horus, and those are my means of warding off the evil eye. They can also, they do also have a practice of taking the umbilical cord from newborn babies, casting it as metal, and then having the baby wear it as either a necklace or a bracelet or even a belt. And that is to protect them until such time as maybe they're a young child, maybe a toddler. I didn't really see how long that they're supposed to wear it, but it is, it's just a piece. It's not the entire umbilical cord, and it's done like right after they're born, and give it to them so they're protected right away. Because once again, babies are most susceptible to the curse. So also in India, they will use slogans. One example is Chashme Badur, which can be translated to "Far be the evil eye," and it is a derivative from the Persian language, which means that, and it's also used in Iran and Pakistan as well. Some truck drivers will use the phrase Buri Nazar Wale Tera Mukala, which can be translated to, "Oh, evil-eyed one, may your face turn black." They will place pictures of fierce and scary ogres in their homes or in their personal vehicles, as a means to scare off the evil eye or casters of the evil eye. Infants will have their eyes lined with kajal or black coal liner, and black is thought to be a color to just generally ward off drusti or drishti. Drishti, so what they refer to as the evil eye in southern regions of India, is most commonly removed on new or full moon days, as these are seen as auspicious or favorable days in India. Now, in Judaism, observant Jews will avoid talking about their good fortunes and successes. I guess it's kind of the theory of, staying humble, because, when you put too much out there in the world and like you're bragging about it, then you also bring back that negative energy and envy with it to yourself. So if you do speak on it, and I don't think it's like they don't talk about it in general. I think it's more like they don't talk about it at length. Like they don't just go around, telling everybody about some good fortune that has befallen them. But if it is done, then they can respond with Bli Ayin Hara, which is without an evil eye. Another phrase used is Kain Ainahara or Genahara, which is no evil eye. Or they will spit 3 times, so much like in the movie My Big Fat Greek Wedding. You do tu, spit 3 times. And in ancient Rome, it was referred to as despuere malum, which is to spit at evil. I guess evil is afraid of saliva. A common Islamic practice is to use the phrase Masha Allah, which God has willed it, Allah has willed it, instead of giving something a direct compliment. So instead of telling somebody like, "Oh, you have a beautiful baby," or "Congratulations on your promotion, your engagement," then they will say Masha Allah. So God has willed you to have this thing. Another phrase used is Tabarak Allah, so blessings of Allah, blessings of God. In Pakistan, they will wear black to ward off the evil eye. So once again, we have this belief in the color black in general, warding it off. Truck drivers and public transit drivers will place like black fabric, like black cloth, on their bumpers to divert the gaze. They will also people in general will also wear what is referred to as a tawiz, which is a black pouch that holds verses from the Quran or Islamic prayers. This can refer to a framed dua, which is a prayer of invocation, supplication, or request of help from God. Now in Mexico, Central America, Latin America, infants are given what is referred to as ojo de venado. They make a charm from the kohage seed, which very much looks like a deer's eye, and I will try to put a picture up. And they put an image of the Virgin Mary on it. So the fake eye to divert the gaze, the Virgin Mary as a layer of protection, and then the actual bracelet part typically consists of red and black beads. Sometimes you'll have a little red tassel, and I guess in like Mexican, Central American culture, both black and red are colors used to ward off evil and curses and that sort of thing. They can also wear the azabache, which is a gold necklace or bracelet that has a charm of the fig sign, which this is the fig sign, that is made of coral. And if a person has accidentally cursed an inanimate object, they can dispel the curse simply by touching it. Moving on to the Hispanic culture of the United States and Latin America. These beliefs are held in both areas. We go back to the egg and, the belief that the egg can absorb the evil intentions. So they will sign the cross with the egg while reciting the prayer over or in front of a person who is afflicted. In Brazil, so one of their practices is to put mild to strongly toxic or dark plants strategically throughout their garden or like by their front door. So kind of like doing a sort of feng shui with toxic plants in their garden. Or they do have sete ervas pots, or 7 lucky herbs pots, where they place herbs like dumb cane, St. George's sword, snake plant, common rue, capsicum annum, basil, rosemary, henwood, just to name a few. Now you may have noticed that some of those are common cooking herbs, and it was very specific to note that if you use these herbs as a means of cleansing or protection, you cannot use it for cooking as well. Because since the plants, the herbs absorb the evil, when you cook it and you eat it, then you're putting it in your body, inevitably cursing yourself. So make sure you have your herbs for cleansing, herbs for cooking. You can also place mirrors outside your front door, or you can put the mirror inside the home, but facing the front door, I guess. So if somebody tries to come in your home with malintent, that gaze is reflected back at them. Another practice is to have an elephant statue, but place it with its back towards the front door. This next one, I suggest the use of small baggies, putting coarse salt in specific places of the home. Also, they tie red ribbons to inanimate objects to avert a heavy gaze, because of course, if an inanimate object is cursed, then it can break, or the curse can cause it not to work as it should. So to keep things in working order, tie a red ribbon, and it'll be good to go. It'll be safe. Now, in Trinidad and Tobago, as I assume in most regions, doctors cannot cure malho, which is evil eye. Only a special or specific people, I assume they are sort of witch doctors, medicine men, what have you, who know the special prayers can cut malho and cure the victim. So if you're in Trinidad and Tobago and you feel you're cursed, you have to seek out these special healers. Wearing blue or having blue talismans can protect both yourself and your household. And they even have a shade of blue that is specifically called malho blue, which I guess is like a stronger ward against it. Like you can use any general blue, which will be a form of protection, but this specific blue is like the end all be all. They're not getting past this gate type of thing. They also use jumbi beads, which are the toxic seeds of the rosary tree, and they wear them like as charms on a bracelet. Certain things you can do to cure. They believe a pinch can reverse the curse, and even bathing in the sea. Specifically, if your hair is affected, you can spit in your hands and rub your own saliva through your hair. I guess the saliva kind of washes, so to speak, the evil out. Newborns are gifted jet bead bracelets with blue dye bags, and they also have certain practices that are derived from Indian and Hindi culture. So some people will place a tika on newborns, which is the little black dot. Another practice is the jare, which is performed by a pundit or a spiritual practitioner or elder. And they can use either a peacock feather, a cocoya broom, and sometimes they will even use a knife or machete. It's typically very commonly performed on infants and young children, though I think if they use a knife or machete, it's reserved just for adults for safety purposes, at least I hope. And this can refer to the cutting of malho. So they will, brush any of these objects over the victim while reciting special prayer. The prayer is typically done in Hindi, but it can be translated and performed in English. And the ritual can be just a general overall cleansing, or it can be focused on a specific area. And a last ritual that is also of Hindi origins, which could possibly, from what I saw in some of the sources, be interchangeable with the jare, is the okche. And they take pieces of onion skin, salt, cobweb, hot pepper, mustard seeds, pieces of the cocoya broom, and a lock of the victim's hair. If the victim is a child, then they'll take a lock of their mom's hair. They wrap it up in a tissue, then they take that tissue, circle it around the victim, and then they burn it. If the flame is very pungent and is big, then that means you had a severe case of malho. And if it is smaller and doesn't really have a stench, then you only had like a mild case. So the bigger the flame, the smellier the smoke, the worse your case was. Now, in Afro-Caribbean, spiritual Baptist, and Orisha practices, it's just simple. They have a guard, which is a special piece of jewelry that is blessed by an elder, either an elder in the family, elder in the community, and they will place blessed safety pins on newborns. Now this next one is super cute, and I'm putting up a picture to prove my point because I believe everyone in the world must see these. In Malta, they have iyuzus, which are traditional fishing boats, and they paint what is called igajin, or special eyes, on the front of them. So it's like these boats have like their own little faces, and they are so adorable. They are brightly colored, and these igajins are used to protect the boats from storms or malicious intentions. So I guess against competing fishermen in the area. Moving on to Greece. So we have the Matiasma, which is the undoing of the eye, and it involves a special prayer, oil, and water, and of course the oil and water would be blessed, so it'd be like holy water and blessed oil, and the signing of the cross. Now these special prayers are referred to as Vaskania, just like the curse itself, and it is passed from opposing genders. So like in my family, my dad would pass it to me and my sister, my mom would pass it to my brother, I would pass it to my future sons, and my brother would pass it to his future daughters, that sort of thing. As well, the prayers can only be passed under special circumstances. So I assume it's like they can only be passed when the ritual has to be performed. Or if you go your whole life without having to do the ritual, then I assume like kind of like a deathbed type of situation would have to occur, and passing it on a whim could cause it to lose its power. So like if my dad had a special prayer to pass on, he couldn't do it like if we were both in the kitchen cooking. He couldn't be like, oh hey, I have this special prayer that I need to pass on to you. It's a family thing. It would have to wait until such a situation arises. And of course, the different areas and even different families will have their own prayers and spiritual rites. Once again, going back to my big fat Greek wedding, healers can do a sign of the cross and then spit air 3 times, so toot toot toot. Now there is also the wearing of sacred amulets, texts, or charms, and that can also be done for animals. So in Greece, these pendants, charms, amulets, what have you, are referred to as mati, and you wear it either as jewelry, like my bracelet, or a pendant, like hung over the door. I have a necklace with the mati in my car to keep me safe when I'm driving. And the specific eye amulet is meant to reflect the glare back on the caster. Now, they also use certain hand gestures, and one of the more common gestures used in the Mediterranean in general is the fig sign, which once again is this fist with the thumb between the index finger and the middle finger. Let's move on to our last little bit, and it comes to Italy. And in Italy, they use, of course, charms and gestures to ward off the evil eye. One of the charms is the Cornicella, which is the little horn, and it is typically a piece of gold that is formed in the shape of the twisted horn of the African eland or a chili pepper. They can also wear a tooth or a tuft of fur from the Italian wolf. Chimorata is another charm, and it is generally made of silver. It kind of looks like a piece of coral, so it has, it has the stem and then it branches out, and at the end of each of those little branches is a separate little charm used to ward off the evil eye. And these charms can just be general warding charms, or they can be more specific, like to your region or even to your family. So maybe kind of like coats of arms symbols sort of things. Some charms can be like fish, knife, a sword, a rose, a key, the cross, which I think that would probably be a general one used across the board, rooster, snake, etc. So maybe a protective weapon, a symbol of the family, an animal associated with the family, and then of course the cross, that sort of thing. And they are usually worn as like a pendant on a necklace, or they can be hung over a baby's crib, so they can actually be quite large. In terms of gestures, one such gesture that they will use is the sign of the horns. They can also display ritual drawings or objects. Now, in many countries of the Mediterranean and the Middle East, they use what is referred to as fascinum, or drawings or charms used to fascinate, which is a means of distraction for a caster of the evil eye. And these fascinum date back all the way to the 1st to 4th centuries BCE. And the main facet is the divine phallus. Now, purposefully, I'm not going to put up pictures of this, as it might go against community guidelines, whatever. But if you are an adult, I invite you to look up divine phallus. Some of these are quite amusing to look at, to say the least. They were often worn as pendants on necklaces. There are rings. They are depicted in mosaics, stone carvings, and even wind chimes. if you're not understanding what I mean by divine phallus, it is basically they used the depiction of a disembodied penis as a charm. The most famous found depiction or carving of this divine disembodied phallus, penis, what have you, was found in the ancient city of Leptis Magna. It is the disembodied phallus spunking into the evil eye as a form of attack. All of this sort of stuff was thought to be a severe distraction, especially since a lot of the casters were seen as witches, which generally puts it as they were women. So what is more distracting to a woman, as seen by the ancients, than just a disembodied penis, you know? So yeah. So what are your thoughts on any of this? Do you guys have any sort of do you wear any sorts of charms? Do you partake in any sorts of like hand gestures, spiritual rites, special prayers? Do you have your own that I didn't cover in this video? Let me know all of that down below. If you made it all the way to the end of this video and you enjoyed it, consider giving me a like or a dislike to let me know not to do this type of video again. Also consider giving me a subscribe. I would really appreciate it. I also just appreciate you watching these videos of mine. It really does take a while to do this research, even though I do some pretty basic research. But yeah, so give me a like, comment below, hit subscribe, and I will also link some socials below, so go ahead and give those a follow, which will let you know when videos are up, and maybe you could even suggest topics either in the comments of this video, in the comments on Instagram. You can tweet at me. But yeah, thanks again. I've been Shella. It's been a pleasure chatting. See y'all next time.